Iris and Grizz in the morning, 93.1 Kiss FM.
It is story time. Scaretober here, Iris and Grizz in the morning, and we have brought none other than the best storyteller ever, Heather Shade. I paused for dramatics.
Okay. As I float into the room. You guys aren't seeing the visuals. I'm floating
you didn't
in.
know, but
she's levitating right now.
Let's let her, okay, and she's sitting now. We have Heather Shade joining us from Lost El Paso Paranormal. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. I always love coming on with you guys.
Yes, and I love it the most too because I'm a very visual person, so I love hearing stories, but I love when I can also look at a photo and put that to the story. And if you go right now to lostelpaso.com, you will be able to keep tabs and look at the photos of the neighborhoods that we're talking about.
Right.
Heather Shade always puts them together for us.
Yes,
Super
just
cool.
Scroll down to the bottom of that page at lostelpaso.com. You will see Iris and Grizz in the morning, and that's where you click and you can enter the gallery. And for our gallery, some of the neighborhoods we're talking about today, most haunted neighborhoods in El Paso, I did add in a couple of vintage photos so you can see back in the day, and then some recent photos of these neighborhoods as well.
And you had mentioned that you put a poll on, was it on Facebook?
Right, we did a poll on our Facebook. We had it up since yesterday, so we asked the public. We wanted you all to vote what you guys thought was the most haunted neighborhood in El Paso. So we'll reveal that a little bit later.
Perfect. So right now we're going to focus on two neighborhoods before, Austin and Rim Road.
Right, Austin Terrace
Austin
and
Terrace.
the Rim Road area.
So give us some stories on those haunted neighborhoods.
Well, one thing that we've started doing recently with our tours that we do is we've started branching out into the El Paso neighborhoods. So we're going into some of the oldest, most historic districts, and we are uncovering those stories, folklores, urban legends, that stuff that we really love to just dig into.
Yeah, which is so cool because we were just talking, and most of the people, they explore downtown and they stay exclusively there.
Right, yeah.
And you're branching out into the rest of the city.
Right, and that's what we've done for most of our time as well. We do a lot of tours in downtown area, very haunted by the way, and Concordia Cemetery. But I just had an itch to start getting into some of these. There's so many great neighborhoods here, and walkable, beautiful neighborhoods with our mountains and our sunsets. I thought we could really enjoy this and get spooky with it as well.
So tell us a little bit about Austin Terrace.
So Austin Terrace, that is actually the newest tour that we've added in that we've been doing. And Austin Terrace is that area that's over there by Loretto Academy. It's over there in the central area, so it's over there by the Pershing Gate of Fort Bliss. So over there you've got a lot of old military history. That area goes back to the 1910s.
Wow.
Right. So you're looking at some very, very old history there. You're talking about Loretto, which that was also, as we know, a very spooky folklore of El Paso with our haunted nun that is supposed to haunt the tower of Loretto Academy. That's part of that neighborhood. Up there you've also got there's an old sanatorium, which is now a religious college. But it used to be a sanatorium, a tuberculosis sanatorium. That's one of the photos that you'll see up there. You'll see a photo there that kind of looks like building that kind of almost looks like the Alamo.
Yeah.
That is the old sanatorium that sits right in the middle of that neighborhood. So when you're talking about haunted hotspots, you have quite a few there in Austin Terrace. And of course, that's where they host the wonderful St. Anthony's Bazaar, where we, like to go and get our gorditas. So very culturally significant, historical, and haunted neighborhood.
Ooh.
Right.
So what are some of the stories that they tell about Austin Terrace?
Well, definitely the most famous probably is Loretto Academy. I did include an older photo there of the neighborhood. It shows Loretto Academy in the 20s, and you can see how remote that neighborhood was when it was first being built. I also included a photo of the entrance of Austin Terrace, and if you'll look, you'll see some beautiful Greek columns, and you'll see people on horseback entering the neighborhood. People used to have horses in that neighborhood back in the time. People used to have stables up there and everything when it was first built. So you've got all that atmosphere. And then as for the hauntings, Loretto definitely probably would be the most infamous story there. There is the tale of supposedly a ghostly nun that can be seen up in the tower.
Oh, yes, I
that
remember.
tall bell tower. Supposedly they see her shadow on certain moonlit nights. passing through the tower. There's so many origins to the story. They say that, she was a nun who was maybe involved in a scandal and hidden away in the tower. Either she passed there or took her life. There's just so many different variations of the folklore and the story, but the ghost herself is the one that is said to be seen up in that tower.
Oh,
that is creepy.
Right, and that's kind of the central part. That neighborhood was sort of built up around Loretto. So the ghost is like right in the central middle of things. she's domineering right there in the middle of the neighborhood,
Nice.
keeping an eye on everything.
And again, you can see these photos. Go to lostelpaso.com. We have Heather Shea joining us. We're talking about haunted neighborhoods here in the El Paso area. Another one is Rim Road.
Right, and that's a brand new neighborhood that we've never done before. We'll actually be doing that the very first time this Saturday.
Nice.
So if you're interested, I do still have some tickets left. The Rim Road area is also very fascinating.
It is beautiful.
Because right there, we're going to be literally on top of El Paso High.
Oh,
I mean,
and El Paso High is like one of the most haunted schools.
And we've been walking the route a little bit and going up there just because we try to time it out so you get the most beautiful sunset views and we get to enjoy the evening. And so when we've been walking up there recently, we're like, ooh, you guys should
just
see
get the feeling,
the views of El Paso High from up there. Because you're up above it, you can like see right
everything
into
down here.
some of those windows and
Oh.
So we're definitely going to explore the El Paso High legend, which, as most El Pasoans do know, El Paso High is like our most haunted school, or one of our most famous legends. So we've got that up there. You've got the old Stormsville community that used to be up there. A lot of people don't know about the history, all the
What is
history
that
of that.
one? Give us a little teaser.
Well, Stormsville is a community that it used to actually be called the dirtiest place in El Paso at one point in time. But it came about during the floods in the late 1800s when people had to literally be pushed up the mountain due to the floods that we were having.
Okay.
And they just kind of started building a community up there. The land was owned by a gentleman by the name of Storms, a lawyer named Denny Storms. So it got the name of Stormsville. But the thing about it is that it was just a place where people just kind of built out of whatever you wanted to build out of.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what it looked like up there. I mean, it was, there was no really roads or sanitation or any kind of city run.
That's why they called it the dirtiest city.
Yes, because after a while, things started to just kind of fall down the mountain and there was trash, there was buildings falling over. I mean, it kind of became a little bit hazardous. And that is the reason why we now have Rim Road, because the city wanted to redevelop that area. They wanted to use that part of the mountain. And that's when that became an idea to make that a neighborhood up there. And if you look at the photo that I included, one of the old photos, you can see, you will see El Paso High there. Mm-hmm. And you can see where Tom Lee Park is. It looks teeny tiny. It's just there sticking out. That's where we'll be meeting. So you can see how close that is to El Paso High. Mm. And if you guys look in that old photo, you can notice that there's something there kind of on the left that looks like a quarry, like a dirt quarry. Mm-hmm. They actually found dinosaur bones.
What?
So we're going to talk about dinosaurs. We're going to talk about El Paso High. Spirits, ghost stories. So Rim Road, it's just got a whole variety up there. And of course, we've got our ghostly monk on the mountain.
What? Hold on. What is that about, the monk on the
Trans
mountain?
Mountain, we have our ghostly monk that walks with his donkey. So once we're getting up onto Rim Road and these mountain sides, we have so many stories we can share. And there's a lot of ghost stories up there.
How exciting.
It is very exciting, yes.
And that's just a few of the stories that you're going to share with us. So again, you can go to lostelpaso.com if you want to follow along. We're talking about the most haunted neighborhoods here in El Paso. We have Heather Shea joining us. We did Austin Terrace and then Rim Road. Coming up, we'll take you to some new heights.
Mm-hmm.
The heights of haunting.
Yes. We'll give you two more haunted neighborhoods, which some people might consider some of the most famously known haunted neighborhoods here in El Paso.
According to you all, we have the most haunted neighborhood coming up. So I'll reveal what you guys say that was.
Okay.
And I kind of agree with you, so.
Yeah, I think I do too.
So we'll see what that is.
We'll have that coming up in just a few minutes. It's Iris and Grizz in the morning, Scaretober on 93.1 Kiss FM.
Stories.
Ooh. So if you're just tuning in, we have Heather Shea joining us because we are talking about the most haunted neighborhoods in El Paso. You can go to lostelpaso.com to follow along. Heather always puts photos up there for those of us that just needs to visualize it, and you can follow along. So we went over Austin Terrace and then Rim Road.
Right.
Now we're going to talk about what El Pasoans consider the most haunted neighborhoods here.
Right. We did a poll, and you all voted Sunset Heights as our most haunted neighborhood.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
I don't disagree with that. Sunset Heights is, first of all, the age of it. I mean, it goes back to the 1880s when it was developed. So it is our oldest neighborhood. And just the fact of where it's located, the fact that there used to be a cemetery up there, if you all are familiar with Mundy Park, which is where we meet, the beautiful park with that little gazebo, that used to be a cemetery. Back before the neighborhood and that hillside was developed. If you guys recall, it was maybe just 3 months ago, they actually found a skeleton there under the street on the corner of Mundy Park.
And it was like it was an old one from like
Yes.
forever ago? Wow.
And we had just met there for a ghost tour, probably like the night before, the 2 days before. So we were meeting right there at the gazebo. That's where we meet. And the following day they find a skeleton right there. But that is part of the history there. That does happen often. I believe it was only a couple of years ago they found remains on Fuel Street.
Oh my gosh. There's just remains of bodies popping up all over the place.
Right. But like I said, there used to be an old cemetery up there in the Mundy Park area. And also back in those times, before we had Concordia Cemetery in the 1890s, people did used to go up into the hillsides and just do burials. We didn't have an official cemetery.
I guess that's true.
So, you just don't know literally what you're going to stumble across up there when you're doing any kind of construction or when they're working on streets. They just don't know.
When it rains, I've heard stories of like rain digging up old bodies and stuff like that.
We've even heard stories of people doing work in their yards and digging up like pieces of a coffin or, something like
You're just
that.
there chilling. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, right. And I mean, this goes back to some of El Paso's oldest, history. So you're really, really touching on something that's goes very deep into the culture and the community. But yes, Sunset Heights has so many haunted places. When we used to work with Henry Flores, who's, most of you know, he's the godfather of the paranormal here in El Paso.
Ooh.
He's been on Ghost Adventures, and he's the man. But when we used to work with him, we would do a lot of home investigations. We would get calls weekly from Sunset Heights. It was just
like people experiencing crazy haunting stuff
in their homes. We investigated a lot of places there. We investigated the Burgess House, which is where the Historical Society is now located. They've got ghosties in there.
Just hanging out there.
Yeah, a talking baby doll.
No,
a ghost that looks like
doll.
a bride up in the bride's room. They have a bride's room in there because they do weddings. So the Burgess House in Sunset Heights, it's got a whole little collection of different entities and things that hang out. And the most infamous thing in Sunset Heights, which I did include a photo of, is the Turtle House.
Yes,
I
saw that.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at those photos right now, and they're so creepy. What are these basement tunnels? They look weird.
That is one of the most famous legends of our city. There are tunnels that branch off underneath this home, which is called the Turtle House. I included the outside of it where you can see the turtle.
The little
symbol.
turtle.
Right. There's a whole lot of folklore and mythology around that home, tied in with the Chinese immigrants and the building of the railroads. That was said to be a safe haven for Chinese immigrants in that area during the Chinese Exclusion Act of that time. So you've got all kinds of things that go on in the basement of that place, and those are photos of some of those tunnel entrances. Now the tunnel entrances have since been, when they were discovered, they were already filled in.
Oh, so are they filled in?
Yes.
Oh, so you can't go into the tunnel anymore?
we don't know where they go.
Oh.
Some of them you can go in, like as you can see off the sides, you can see entrances. Some of them you can go in a few feet, some of them not too much, because they've been filled in with brick, dirt, concrete. So nobody knows where they lead. That's the fun part of the mystery. We don't know where they go. Why don't we know? Because to go in there and start digging all that up would destabilize those streets, those foundations of those homes.
Wow, that's true.
That is also a historic district, protected. So
you can't go.
Right, you can't just go and start digging things up.
What are some of the stories that they tell, are like the ghosts that live in the turtle house?
Well, in the Turtle House, it is now an apartment complex.
Oh,
And the home has been turned into apartments, and the people that live there have told us, we had also a very good friend that lived there for a while, so we had an inside scoop. He would tell us they would hear voices down there, but they would hear them speaking in foreign language, like sound like they were speaking in, not in English, which would go right with the history.
right.
They would hear noises moving around down there when there was no one in there. They would smell the smells of like fire, smoke, or food cooking. If you go down in there, those pictures we actually got were from a tour that we did with the Sunset Heights Neighborhood Association.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go down there, you will see that there are marks on the walls where they would cook food down there, because they do believe people would stay down there for a period of time for different reasons, sort of like a hideout. So yes, that lines up very much with what the residents would experience.
Wow.
You know, so
That is,
yeah.
just
but-
looking at that.
and
then,
that's not the only tunnels in Sunset Heights. Those are just the most famous. There are other homes that we talk about on our tour that they've discovered tunnels as well.
Oh my God, El Paso's just full of tunnels. That's
Yeah.
wild.
I guess so. And then let's wrap up with Manhattan Heights. That's also on that list.
Right, Manhattan Heights is up there in the Memorial Park area, and you'd be surprised. There
That's
are.
right where I live, over in the Manhattan.
Oh,
Heights area,
really?
yeah.
Yes, well, there are some very cool haunted hotspots up there. There's the old Mabel Welch house. She was our first female architect. That's that beautiful house up on the corner by the park. People have, when it was abandoned, people would say that they'd see her silhouette up there in the window working at night. So you've got that up there. We've got the remains of the old smeltery. There's just a lot of mining history up there. And again, you've got rumors of tunnels, old cemetery areas up there. So when you're mixing all that folklore, the tunnels, the cemeteries, all the layers of our history that have been there, you really get the vibes, and the ghosts come out, you know? That's when our ghosts and our folklore and our urban legends start to really manifest themselves. So
And
we
then there's-
love our spooky neighborhoods.
I think we spoke about it the last time you were here, but in Manhattan Heights, they also have the elementary school there that.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, Crockett Elementary, which is said to be very haunted. That school has quite a lot of stories as well. It was used as a hospital, like a field hospital for the military at a certain point in time. And people have reported, like students have reported seeing like a man walking down the hall with a bandage around his head. Or a gentleman walking down the hall with part of their arm amputated and bandaged up.
No.
Yeah, you're
My
in the
niece
middle
goes
of,
there.
yeah, you're in the middle of school and you see something like that. That's quite
Oh,
startling.
yeah. You're like, that,
But
you don't belong here.
yeah, but again, that does tie directly back into the history of some of the things that have
Yeah.
happened there.
If it's a military hospital, right? Yeah.
Right, and so, you know, it's just interesting how you can tie in some of the experience people have with our history.
And they got the Concordia Cemetery there, right? Isn't that Manhattan Heights? Isn't that that
No,
area?
that's more down in the, down by the central area.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
And in Memorial Park, I did include a couple more little photos there because just so people can see, I don't know if you guys realize we used to have a big lake in the middle of Memorial
No,
Park.
I'm looking at that and I was like, how cool is
If you've
that?
ever wondered why we have bridges there, we had a full-on lake.
Oh, that makes sense.
That
So I
does
thought
make
you guys
sense.
would enjoy seeing that because it's wild to see.
It is cool. A little throwback photo there.
But this is the kind of things that we like to go like dive into, walk around, explore up close in our neighborhoods. There's so many cool neighborhoods in El Paso that are just brimming with history
Yeah.
and amazing fun stories.
Mm-hmm.
So why not get out there and, you know, really explore that?
Yeah.
And if
Learn the
people,
urban legends.
yeah, and if people want to get out there and explore it, tell them more about the events you got coming up.
We have our, this weekend we'll be at Rim Road, as I mentioned, first time ever, so come out for that. We also have our Vampires Night Ghost Walk on Friday, which is a lot of fun.
Cool.
We'll be downtown talking about real vampire history, yes, indeed. We will have Austin Terrace coming up the following weekend. We have Manhattan Heights coming up. We've got Concordia coming up. We've got tons of stuff this whole month.
And-
I will also be doing a few storytelling events as well, like at the El Paso Museum of Archaeology. Those are free and family friendly. I'll be doing a storytelling event there of Dia de los Muertos for folklore.
nice.
Yeah. So if you guys go on lostelpaso.com or any of our social medias, you'll be able to find all those schedules and all those details.
And I know you said that for your vampire walk, you encourage people to dress up like
Yes,
vampires,
yes. For our Vampires Walk on Friday, we'll be meeting downtown, and we encourage everyone to get into your best vampire attire.
Wow.
We'll provide the fangs, but sorry, not the blood. It's BYOB, bring your own blood.
Literally.
Solid,
Right.
that's good.
So yeah, that's some of the things we do for Halloween. We also have a trick-or-treat tour coming up downtown. So like I said, there's too much to list here, but if you go on our lostelpaso.com, you'll find all that info. And also feel free to reach out, give us a call or email if you have any questions.
Nice. Again, so Heather Shea joining us, Lost El Paso Paranormal, and she mentioned it, lostelpaso.com. That's where you can find more details on all the events coming up. And I mean, it's Scaretober this whole month, so we're definitely going to have you back.
You know what, we
Awesome.
have to, we have
Yes.
to.
So you can
I'm
share
ready.
more ghost stories
I'm
with
down.
us. And if anyone out there, has a ghost story that you haven't heard and maybe you want Heather to find the research behind it,
Right.
you can send
Let
us
me
a
know.
message. You could download the Kiss
Yes.
mobile app.
Yeah.
Let us know because Heather Shade is going to come back throughout the month. So if you have a
I will
ghost story or
investigate
something,
for you.
yes,
If you have something you want me to check out, let them know.
send them over to us so
Yes.
we can get that for you. Thanks so much, Heather. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I love coming on. It's always fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
appreciate
Especially
it.
when you bring us
Yes.
trick or treat.
I brought you guys some bags of candy. And
Yes.
like I had to mention, they should be full. They should have an even amount of candy, but there's a little mouse in my house by the name of Dean Tarango.
Might have took some.
He was trying to get into those bags all night last night. I would hear the crinkle of the bag and I'd be like,
Like,
no.
stop it.
So,
He probably
if there's-
took one from mine and one from
If
his
there's
so they
any
could be
missing,
even.
you guys can go for him.
That's
Go after him, okay?
We know,
Noted.
know.
All right. All right. It's Iris Grizz. Oh, no, thank you. Iris Grizz in the morning right now. Let's get into some Ariana Grande. We can't be friends.